Dominic Raab has reaffirmed Britain's Brexit red lines and warned the days of being held over a barrel by Brussels are long gone. The Foreign Secretary also reiterated Britain will have control over its fisheries, a stumbling block in the current post-Brexit trade negotiations with the EU. Mr. Raab made the statement during the virtual Tory party conference, and said, "Yes, we want a free trade deal with the EU, but any deal must be fair. The days of being held over a barrel by Brussels are long gone. Under the Conservatives, there is no question, our government will control our fisheries, our parliament will pass our laws and our courts will judge them." His comments come as Boris Johnson spoke with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen today. The Prime Minister will tell the EU chief that Emmanuel Macron must cave in to Britain's fishing demands during a last-ditch Brexit summit. He will be emboldened by Angela Merkel's support for this week's historic fisheries pact signed by the UK and Norway, which the German Chancellor said shows that one can find ways to come to an agreement. This afternoon's meeting between Mr. Johnson and Ursula von der Leyen will be a chance for the pair to take stock of negotiations and discuss next steps, after the week-long trade talks in Brussels wrapped up without a deal in sight. The French president's stubborn Brexit approach has been at odds with fellow leaders across the continent. Mr. Macron continues to dig in his heels and demand the EU take a tough line on fishing rights for European fishermen, as France is a major beneficiary of access to British seas. The young president has insisted the status quo be maintained. This means fishing catches in the 1970s largely form the basis of catches for fishermen today. This system is completely at odds with the UK's desire to take back control of its own waters and get a fair deal for British fishermen, who have long complained their waters are being fleeced by foreign boats at their expense. David Frost, the UK's chief Brexit negotiator, warned of a very large gap between both sides on fishing, one of the most contentious topics up for discussion. And in a dig at his European counterpart Michel Barnier, Lord Frost said the bloc needed to show realism and flexibility if any progress was to be made. In a statement released following his meeting with Mr. Barnier, Lord Frost said, "On fisheries the gap between us is unfortunately very large and, without further realism and flexibility from the EU, risks being impossible to bridge. These issues are fundamental to our future status as an independent country." But Mr. Johnson struck a more optimistic note, saying he felt pretty optimistic about striking a trade deal with Brussels ahead of his weekend meeting with Ms. von der Leyen.